Hi everyone, welcome back. So for this log, I'm going to improve the movement of the character or the animation of the character while walking. So we're going to improve the code for this log. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is to create a CMake file. So CMake responsible for the creation of executable and linking the libraries. So for the main file, we're going to include the header file. So we have the SDL2 library and SDL2 image library as well. And then for printing the error, we will going to use the stdio.header. And then for the true or false, or to utilize the true or false instead in ones and zero, we are going to use std_bool.header. Now we're going to define a constant, which is this price underscore size, frame underscore count, and frame underscore delay. Now we're going to have a direction enum. So it defines 4 possible movement direction. Each direction corresponds to a row in the character sprite sheet. So inside the main function, we're going to initialize first the SDL. So if something's wrong, we're going to print the error. Now we're going to initialize the image for the PNG so that it can load properly. So if it fails, we're going to print out the error and quit the SDL. And then we're going to have the renderer creation. So here we have a renderer. So the type of that renderer is SDL_renderer. And then we use the SDL create renderer. So the window that we created, we're going to use that here. So because we wanted to render that. And then here, -1, which means we're going to grab the most available graphics. And then we required a hardware, if it's possible, if there is a hardware or a hardware acceleration or hardware accelerated, which is the GPU. And then we will going to, if possible, a vsync. So if it fails, it print the error, of course, and then clean up or destroy the window and quit the SDL and image. And then we're going to create the texture so that we can load the character sprite sheet. So here the texture name is the character sprite, and then the type of that is SDL texture. And then we use the image load texture so that we don't need to use the surface to make a texture. So here we just needed the renderer and then the path of the PNG or the data that we wanted to load or to make a texture. So if it fails, we are going to print some error and then clean up the renderer and the main window or m_window and quit the SDL and image. So here we're going to select which part of the sprite sheet to draw, and then we're going to define where and how large the sprite appears on the screen. So here the sprite size or sprite_size, we multiply that by 2, so it is scaled by 2. And then we have our main loop. Inside the main loop, we have a event loop. So if we hit escape or exit the program, we will going to stop the loop. And then we're going to read the keyboard state. So here the type of the keyboard state is a constant uint8. So Here we just use the SDL get keyboard state. So then we're going to move the character 5 pixels per frame. So we're going to update the directions and set the move to true. So every time that we hit up, it will go into up, down, and left and right. Now we're going to update the animation frame, use the SDL get ticks. So if the character is moving, so in advance to the next animation frame, every frame underscore delay. So then it loop backs with modulo or percentage frame underscore that count. In other words, it boils down to how fast the switch between frames. And then we will going to, if idle, we will just going to stop the frame into 0. And then we're going to pick the column or the frame index and then pick the row direction. Now we're going to render everything. So first we're going to clear the screen first and then draw the chosen sprite frame in the correct position. And then we're going to update the window with the new frame. So there we will going to clean up all the resources that we used. So we're going to delete the character sprite, the renderer, then the main window or m underscore window, and then we're going to quit the image and the SDL. And that's it. We've just built a simple system where you can move your character with the arrow keys and play the correct sprite animation in each direction. So we set up our source rect or SRC rect to pick the right frame. It handled the keyboard input with SDL and made the animation loop whenever the player is moving, resetting it on the idle pose when they stopped.